Hey guys, it's Paul from Online Sax Academy. In today's lesson, we're going to be exploring the fascinating world of modes, what they are, how they're built, and at the end there's a play-along workout you can try. Now, a mode is basically a kind of scale, and each one has its own unique sound and flavour. Unfortunately, the way they're typically taught, you don't really get the sense of the sound of each of the modes. So in today's lesson, I'm going to give you another way to look at and learn these modes. The way it's typically taught is they'll first of all show you a piano, and they'll say if you play all the white notes from C to C, you get a major scale. And then they'll say, but instead if you shift up one note and play all the white notes from D to D, then you'll get something called D Dorian. And they'll carry on up the piano playing the various different groups of notes. The trouble is with presenting the modes like this though, is that your ear's kind of in the world of C major, all those white notes. So when you shift up one note, say to play D Dorian, it just kind of sounds like you're playing the C major scale but starting on the wrong note. You don't really get the sense of that Dorian quality. So instead what we're going to do is look at these modes but from a fixed point. And this is going to allow your ear to really hear the differences in the sound colours between these different modes. And we're going to go in order from the brightest mode to the darkest mode. Now, this isn't some wishy-washy term of bright and dark. You're literally going to see, as we get darker and darker, more and more flats will get introduced. So before we jump into the first mode, we'll first of all get accustomed with the F major scale. Now, you probably already know the F major scale. It's one of the easier ones because it only has a B flat. We've only got one black note. For our first and brightest mode, what we're going to do is raise that B flat back up to a B natural. And this mode is known as the Lydian mode. And because that fourth has gone up, it's a much brighter sound, and it sounds like this. Now, after Lydian, we have what's called the Ionian mode. Now, you already know the Ionian mode by another name. It's basically just our major scale. So this scale will feel slightly darker because we've got that one flat. Now, after that, the next darkest mode is known as the Mixolydian mode, and we get this by flattening the seventh note. So we've now got B flat and E flat, and that sounds like this. Now we'll just pause here a second. If you remember, the Lydian mode was going from F to F and there was no black notes. Now that is the same as a C major scale, but we're starting it on F. And this Mixolydian mode we just played with a B flat and E flat, that is the same as a B flat major scale starting on F. But when thinking of these modes and the sound colours they have, I think it's much more useful to think in terms of comparing it to the root note major. So in this case, the Lydian is like F major, but we've raised the fourth, so we're going to have this sound of it being brighter. But in the Mixolydian mode, that's like an F major scale, but we've flattened the seventh, and so that's why it's got this slightly darker sound. Now moving on, the next darkest, we're going to flatten the third note. So the A's go to A flat, and that's going to give us what's called a Dorian mode. Now it's true that the F Dorian does have the same notes as an E flat major scale, but when you think of it in terms of relating to the F, this is where you can see why it has this minor quality. The third note, A, has been flattened to A flat, and this creates a minor third. When you play the triad of the 1, 3, 5, you can hear you literally get a minor chord. Now the next scale is known as the Aeolian mode. This also has another name, a bit like Ionian was called the major scale. The Aeolian mode is also known as the natural minor. And for this one, you can see the extra flat is the D has now been flattened. And that sounds like this. Now notice how the first, third and fifth notes still form an F minor triad, and so you can think of this as being applicable on minor chords. But now we've got this much darker sound because the sixth note D has been moved down to D flat, and that's the key difference between a Dorian sound and an Aeolian sound. Alright, getting darker still, we're now going to flatten the second note. This is known as the Phrygian mode, and it sounds like this. Now, the darkest mode of all is if we flatten the fifth note. Now, this is called the Locrian, and you most commonly use this on half diminished chords. Now so far we've flattened all the notes apart from the first degree. Now if you flatten that first note, you end up creating the brightest mode again, a Lydian mode. This is F flat Lydian. No one calls it F flat Lydian because if you rewrite it with sharps instead of flats, you end up with E Lydian. You end up exactly one semitone lower than where you started. Now you could then repeat this process of flattening the notes in the same order as we did, and you would then recreate all of the modes starting on E, and you could keep going around until you've covered all the modes in all 12 keys. Coming up now, we've got a workout where we're going to play through all these modes in order from brightest to darkest, starting on the note F on the alto sax. If you play tenor sax, then you can get the free transposed backing track for you. Along with that, there's also the free PDF that you can download of all these modes. Premium members at Online Sax Academy will be able to get this workout in all 12 keys as well, so you can practice your modes in any key. Alright, so here's this modal workout. Now a really fun exercise to try is if you close your eyes and randomly click within that workout, and just by listening to the mode, see if you can identify it. This is a great way to start to open up your ears, and then as you're listening to other music, you'll start to recognize these sounds. Alright, so don't forget to grab your free PDF and backing tracks for alto and tenor sax, and the link to that's down below. And do check out everything else that's on offer at Online Sax Academy. Once you become a premium member, you'll have access to everything that's on the site, including all the premium materials in the YouTube library, all the courses that are exclusive only to the website, and there's also a private forum as well where you can connect with me and other members. And if you're new to the channel, hit subscribe so you don't miss out on future lessons, and I'll see you guys next week.